Whoa, that's the illusion reporting from somewhere on spaceship Earth. I'm out for my walk today, and this Toyota pickup truck passed me, right? And it like triggered like a flashback or a connectivity. I'm not sure, but all of a sudden I felt like I was in a psychedelic state. And I went up to my little viewpoint and I was like looking at it all. And I was like, it was just too much for me. Like, not in a bad way. It was just like, what is going on here? Because it's easy to get lost in an urban environment, but like being on a fringe like I am, like where there's sparse development, but also like preserved wildlands, it gives you like a real interesting perspective of this human experience. And I was like just thinking about like just being on this earth thing and what it is and the whole deal. And then I'm walking down the hill and I'm looking at this here. And I was like, I don't know, I saw the connectivity, if you will, the realization that's very profound once you like that there is no separation. Like it comes and goes, but like all of a sudden I realized that is not separated from this. And it's 100% connected. And it's radical. Like radical. I'm not afraid of it, but it definitely blows me away. And like, and I get why the ego causes conflict in my mind. Like when I'm in, I don't know, when I get all agitated, I can't be connected to that. It's a billion miles away, and yet there is no separation, right? The ego and the self-talking mind continually separates me from something that isn't separate. That's where I was like, dude, like there is no separation. And I can feel it, man. I can feel it on a molecular level. And it's overwhelming. Maybe I need to eat something. I don't know, right? Like my life depends upon this, my life force. Though I'm a spiritual being, but to exist in this, I'm fully immersed. There is no separation. Like, if you know what I'm talking about, you know, like, it all touches itself. There is nothing that separates me from that ridge line. What's gnarly is, where is it? Right there is a gnarly spot. Had some radical experiences up there. I got to formulate this thought a little bit and get back to you. But I'm going up to my garden because I want to illustrate it. Like it hit me why they don't want us growing our own food. And so let's go get to the garden. All right, we're back here in the garden, right? This is why they don't want you growing food. And I talk about it. We can all grow our own food. It doesn't matter if you live in the city or not. You can go get a pretty inexpensive hydroponic setup, or you can put a little planter box in your window and grow a tomato plant. It's all about growing something to be connected to what it is, right? So I planted these seeds. Some of them are actually grew from last year's peas, right? So they're growing, right? They're living off of the air and what's in the soil, and they're growing. And here you go, you get one of these guys in there. Boom. That feeds my body, right? That feeds my body, which is this capsule that I'm carrying around my consciousness in while I'm down here experiencing what it is to be a human being. And this is why I'm opposed to like televisions and the signal. Not because I'm opposed to televisions. It's because of the disconnectedness from whatever it is we're trying to figure out. Now, you can be down here on Spaceship Earth in your spacesuit and not want to figure anything out. That's fine. I got no judgment against it. More power to you. But for those of us who are trying to figure it out, this is probably the most valuable thing I do next to raising children, because there is this connective abundance to it, right? Like, look at this. These are my carrots. Look at that. My carrots are coming in. Look at this. Look at this little tomato plant that just is growing out of the side of the thing. Look at, I grow these flowers specifically for the bees, right? We need the bees, right? Without the bees, our spacesuits don't live in a multi-step way. Here's my little California poppies I'm growing for the bees. And I don't know if I can actually like articulate it very well, but when you're growing your own food, and like I said, I'm not very good at this whole gardening thing. Like I'm a little bit lazy, and I always get to a slow start. I'm way behind schedule. Those strawberries have been growing over there for, I think it's the 3rd year now. They're very good, by the way. But so I get over into here, and like these seeds, I just took one of my lemon cucumbers from last year, cut it in half, and just buried it. And I was like, I don't know, I did that in the fall, and nothing happened. Then all of a sudden, like 3 weeks ago, boom, life. Life just starts sprouting out of the ground. Because you see, when you grow your own food, you realize there is an abundance to the experience that we're having here on Spaceship Earth. And we've only been conned that there's a shortage because of the separation, you see. Like when I'm here doing my thing, when these are happening, that's radical, man. That's why they don't want us growing our own food. Not because we've advanced beyond it. They've somehow conned us into thinking that wasting our time is more efficient than actually utilizing our time. It takes me about 10 minutes a day to water and do a little bit of weeding. But because I'm doing it organic, right, I'm not fighting the bugs in the traditional sense. Like last year I had a big earwig infestation. Radical, man. But see, this year I have a different consciousness going on. Let's say I was kind of jammed up last year. I had all the back stuff going on. Transition with being from the sole provider in our family to Mr. Mom, all that kind of stuff. So the bugs, if this experience is an outward manifestation of my inner self, it makes total sense. And it's why the bugs have been very limited this year. So like I had the strawberries have been going now for about a month. About a week ago, I was in picking some strawberries for this guest I had over, Eddie, and I noticed that the strawberries had been gnawed on a little bit. Some little bug had been in there. And I was like, all right, the bug's not the problem. The bug's a signal. The bug's trying to tell me something. And it was trying to tell me that, like, dude, you got bugs in your head and they're manifesting in your strawberries. But it was like the minute I realized that, like, the strawberries have been like, fine, like, look, these are honeydews from last year. So now I'm getting into the cycle where I'm harvesting so a lot of the stuff I'm growing is from seeds from last year. Those tomato plants, last year's seeds. The beans over there in the corner, last year's beans. These are last year's honeydew or cantaloupes, I'm not really sure. These are last year's melons, right? So there's a cycle going on. There's a connectivity. There's an abundance to it because they're just growing out of the ground, man. Add water, right? I make my own soil. I compost over there in that trash can. I take this dead soil up here on the mountain and I compost it and bring life to it. You know, I find Owl and I were digging for earthworms like a month ago, adding them to the soil. So there is this like relationship that we're having with Spaceship Earth. Yeah, there's these pesky little squirrels. That's why I got chicken wire everywhere. Sometimes they get in and get something, man. They're not my enemy. The cat, he doesn't seem to mind the squirrels. He's not doing his job, but we don't have any mice, right? So there is a heavy-duty reality to it is see, that's why I can't get into the vegan experience, is because it's not truthful. I get why people do it, and I'm all for it because industrial meat manipulation's horrible. But the reality of it is these plants are fighting for space. If the weeds, I gotta pull the weeds, right? I'm a tree hugger. Like when I pull a weed, I'm killing a plant, which is a life force, right? When I'm battling earwigs with my soy sauce and cooking oil, I'm taking life, right, to sustain bigger life. So when the cat's killing the mice to keep us from having rodent infestation, that's heavy, man. That's a heavy like reality to think about, like that this experience down here on Spaceship Earth is really, you know, what's that big fish eat the little fish, man, that song by anyway, slips my mind. But so it's this thing where like we're not separate from it. As much as we want to be here, we have to let go of what's interfering with the signal. For me, like I just don't have a lot of time to have a television interrupt my signal. This thing we're doing here a little different. I get it. It's a device. But I'm coming from the place that this spaceship we live in, this experience we're having is abundant. It's not in shortage. And that's the overwhelming thing. And that's why they don't want us growing our own food, man. Put a little teeny seed in the ground and bam, you've got a bunch of sweet peas. Put a little teeny seed in the ground. We'll come back and look at these later. And you'll see just vines covering this whole thing, just full of fruit. That's amazing. It's inspiring. It's the daily struggle, man. I think that's a lot of what this channel's about, is like the daily struggle to realize that like we are in a state of abundance and that we've been convinced that we're in a state of lack. We're not lacking anything. The universe isn't based upon lack. It's based upon abundance. Spaceship Earth is based upon abundance. It's not based upon lack. And it's when I'm here with the plants, it makes sense. It's when I look at the side of that hill and I get like the waves of psychedelia. I'm like, wow, radical, man. I don't know, man. That's what I'm tripping on today.